Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. This is a labor of love for me, so I'm glad that you're here to watch it. We are going to do an anime review this week, but it's going to be the last anime review of the theme of this season, which is anime from Toonami and Adult Swim. So this will be the last one, and it's going to be Black Lagoon. Before we get into it, for you out there with kids, this is not an anime for the kiddos. I'm just going to tell you that right now, and I'm probably going to be reinforcing that as I talk about this anime. So let's get into it. Alright, so Black Lagoon, as I said before, this one is not for the kiddos. If you have kids under the age of 16, and you decide you don't want them to watch this because you think it's a little too violent, you're being a good parent. No, seriously, this is very much a very, very exceedingly violent anime. But I do enjoy it, and I'll explain why. There's certain aspects of it that I find intriguing. So anyway, so let's go into the particulars of Black Lagoon. Black Lagoon showed up on Toonami in March of 2014. No, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Showed up in I was right. March of 2014. And kind of ran through the year. It was divided up into 2 seasons, 12 episodes each, so a 24 episode thing. There is an OVA, 5-episode OVA on this, and there is a movie. There, of course, it comes off of the manga created by Rei Hiroi, published by Shagakukan. English publisher is, of course, Viz Media. It was running in the monthly Sunday G-Nex. Started in April 19th, 2002, and I believe it's still running. I think that is correct. Which is, gives it a nice long run, doesn't it? So yes, this thing is incredibly hyper-violent. So the studio behind this is, of course, the ubiquitous Madhouse. They make all sorts of interesting things out there in the world. So there is that. The author, the guy of the manga who created this, Rei Hiroi, doesn't have much, but like his manga works are Shook Up, Phantom Bullet, 341 Sentodan. In terms of anime, not only Black Lagoon, but Recreators, and he's done some art books. And that's kind of it. So he doesn't have much, but I think he's just really working on 341 Sentodan, it looks like, and of course Black Lagoon in terms of the manga. So he's a bit of a mangaka. So the story of this, the story behind Black Lagoon. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot to tell you this. This is really interesting. The character art design that Rei Hiroi wound up with for Revi, our main female protagonist, the Two Hands, who is based on a tattoo that you can see on Clooney's arm, George Clooney's arm, in the horror movie From Dusk Till Dawn. So I did not know that. So there you go. Now you know. And knowing's half the battle. But yeah, like I keep saying, this is a very exceedingly violent anime. It starts, basically, it starts with the crew of the Black Lagoon. The Black Lagoon is a PT-109, not PT-109, but it's a PT patrol boat. Old PT patrol boat that was bought by their leader and captain, Dutch, who, runs it. You have Benny, who's kind of like the tech geek computer guy, and you have Revi, who are known as Two Hands, who is basically the psychopath of the group who goes around and just unalives people here and there. So they are, what their job is, what they do is that they work in the South China Sea as sort of pirates / couriers, kind of doing illegal things for money. And that's kind of what they do. That's their gig. And they're working off of this island that has no law, a city that has, basically there are police, right? It is a nation, a city nation, but it's one of those things where it's just kind of like the police are there really just to keep the power on, so to speak. So it's not completely deregulated. But it is a kind of rundown sort of city where crime is encouraged, let's say. And so a lot of people in Asia of the criminal disposition often end up there, and they're all trying to scam off of each other and kill each other and yada, yada, yada. So a very violent world in this South China Sea. Um, Sorry, my throat's a little raspy. So that's kind of the backdrop. All right. In comes Rock, who's a actually has a long Japanese name, whose name that I can't remember because I just remember him as Rock. But anyway, he is introduced as a very junior salaryman at Asahi Corporation. They actually say Asahi Corporation, and he's just he's a toady, right? And so they tell him to go, and he goes, and they tell him how to jump. He says how high. He's just part of that Japanese culture, and he's living a really bad life, in that, and we all see the dark salaryman life, right? And that's kind of what he's living. And they're trying to transfer this information. The company wants to transfer this information that is illegal, and because the company, part of their profits are made illegally in corporate warfare. And so they send Rock out to, transfer, literally just to, here's the disc, put it in your pocket, go over here, give it to these guys, and come back. That's it. That's all he has to do. But of course, the crew of the Black Lagoon, they're pirates, and they take over the boat, and they retrieve the thing, the disc. And, Rock is sitting there. He's kind of getting pushed around by the crew. And they're like, okay, we're going to go now. And Revy, for some reason, decides, we should get some ransom in addition to what we're doing here. So I'm going to grab this guy. Grabs Rock. And off they go. So that's kind of how Rock gets into it. The next episode and a half or so is basically how Rock becomes part of the gang. And he is... kind of doing the, oh, woe is me, why is this happening, blah, 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 kind of weak-willed, ninny kind of character. And because they have the disc, they call up their employer, which is this woman who runs the Russian mafia in this little town. Balakala, I think is her name. And she goes, why don't you just hold on to the disc, and we'll renegotiate the terms of the deal here with Asahi Company. Oh yeah, and we'll try and figure out how to do Rock, how to ransom him as well. Turns out, obviously, the company could give two S's about Rock, and they're like, he's expendable. So they send in a mercenary company to go in to either A, destroy the disc, or to retrieve it. Either is fine. We find out that on the disc is nuclear information that they were going to give to another nation for profit, but then decided not to, and for obvious reasons. And so Brock finds out. The guy, the corporate, talks to him directly. Because they're negotiating his ransom, and says, so basically, we're going to give you a really good funeral. We're going to elevate your position, your status within the company to junior manager, and all the board members are going to be at your funeral, so your parents should be happy about this. And thanks for taking one for the team. And by the way, mercenaries should be showing up right about now to blow out the back of your head. Right? So Brock is upset about this. And he's just like, okay, F this noise. If I'm going to die, then this is where it's going to happen. And they're being chased down by the mercenaries. They're in the PT boat. The mercenaries are in a kind of like a Hind-looking helicopter going after them and shooting missiles and machine guns and whatever. And there's this really ridiculous scene where they sort of jump the boat. So they hydroplane the PT boat, hits a shipwreck, goes up in the air. They let loose a torpedo, and it just goes and goes into the cockpit of the helicopter. And so, boom. And as this is happening, Rock has everything, all the chaos things are blowing up, and you don't know who lives and who dies. Rock is basically smiling and giving the finger, right? So at the end of it, they realize that there's a bar shootout scene with said mercenaries as well, where where you first get the hint that this is not going to be a normal show, because pretty much everyone dies in the bar, like, needlessly. And so anyway, Brock becomes part of the crew. The corporate guy who basically said, yeah, you're going to die, take one for the team, shows up, says, oh, you're still alive, come along, like he's a puppy, and come on, let's go. And Brock says, takes his tie out, goes, I'm not doing this anymore, blah, blah, blah. And it goes off, and interestingly shows a comparison by the end of the episode of the corporate guy who is rich, living his life, and you realize that his life is kind of bland and boring, and he's just, is he happy? And then you have Rock, who is like learning, oh, I can do anything I want now. And so the team says, well, we got a position opening. You want to join us? Yeah, there we go. So not really spoilers. It's basically how the team band gets together. First 3 episodes. I have seen this entire anime before. And like I said, I've enjoyed it. It's very interesting to me. It is exceedingly violent. And I will get into that in a moment. And there are some plot stories that happen that are kind of grimdark, like really grimdark. So the way that the structure of the anime is one of pretty much a story arc starts when they take a job and they start to do the job, and then something about the job falls apart, or it's part of what they have to do to get to the other side. And so these story arcs usually are pretty limited to 2 or to 3 episodes. It's a short series. It's 24 episodes. And so it's not quite like Monster of the Week. It's kind of like Crime of the Week almost. And so that's kind of how they structure the story. There's an overarching story plot wherein it's not really a plot, but you just kind of wonder, where are they going to be at the end of this? And emotionally, as a group, how does this wrap up? In the anime, it doesn't really wrap up. In the manga, it's still ongoing, so it hasn't wrapped up. And that's, I think, kind of the point. Animation, I'll get more on that in a moment. Animation is, in terms of the action sequences, are amazing. They are really good. If gunfights, hand-to-hand combat, whatever you want. Again, a boat in the air shooting off a torpedo into a helicopter. Why not, right? So there are silly elements to this show, and but in some ways it kind of doesn't take itself too seriously. But it's very rare that it does that. Like in the first, I think in the 3rd episode, Revi jumps from the PT boat to another boat to the opposition's boat, but it seems like it's a really far distance, and so she does the jump, and in the dub, Rock kind of looks at her as she's jumping from boat to boat, going, "Wait, what? How the hell is she jumping? She's a monster." So it kind of says, "Okay, we're aware of this. Just roll with it. Just run with it." So it's kind of like that in terms of the physicality of it all. It, like I said, it has very, very grim, dark moments. This is the genres that they put on there is girls with guns, crime, and thriller. Even that is not really accurate. This is not a shonen show. This is a noir show, and I'll talk about that in a moment as we get there to the point of where I ask the question: should you watch this? Should you watch this anime? I liked it, but I cannot say enough on how violent it is. This really is not for the kiddos. If you are someone who enjoys Ghibli and that's kind of what you like, if you like Takahara, if you're a magical girl, if you're, Isekai, the Apothecary Diaries, the things that have some threat to it, but is basically kind of cute and ends well. If that's what you're looking for, nope, this is not for you. Is this a good anime in terms of something that's worth watching? Yes, it is. But you have to understand that the genre this actually is noir. And I don't, and when I say noir, I mean in the general sense. I don't mean just limited to the detective film noir that most people think of when I say the word noir. So noir is basically one of those things where the people inside the story, your protagonist, is not a good person, and the what the action is about, what the story is about, is what this person is doing to be able to get from point A to point B alive and survive whatever the event that they are currently going through is. So you realize that as you're watching a movie, you are pulling for this guy, for this person, for the protagonist. Like you want them to succeed, but by the end of it, you realize, oh yeah, he's not a great guy. He's not a good guy. At this point, you're saying, oh, so it's about anti-heroes. No. There's no anti-hero trope in this one. And generally speaking, in noir, the anti-hero is usually where it falls into the detective noir, or something of that nature, or a criminal that kind of has a certain code and is like willing to do the right thing under certain circumstances. That's what the anti-hero is. And they do use methodology that is more violent and illegal to achieve the good end. So that's why we have the anti-hero. But for this, and for noir as a general, it's not about doing the right thing. It's just about surviving to the end of the day, and hopefully you'll have some money in your pocket as well. That's literally what noir is. A good example of, and noir tends to be violent. It tends to have a lot of death in it. A couple of good examples of noir films are, in the 60s, there was this French movie called Les Samurai. There's no Japanese in it. There's no samurai. But the idea is that this person has a code on how they operate, this assassin. And it's not that he is a good person and trying to do the right thing. It's more along the lines of his decision-making process is such that, do I want to kill this person, this witness? No, inherently I don't want to do that, but I'm going to, because that's how I'm going to survive to get to the end of the day. So there you go. So those are kind of the decision-making processes. And so the idea is that he has a certain code that says when you get to a certain point, you have to know when to give up, basically, and stop and die. And that's hence the title of the Samurai. The other one is Michael Mann's Heat, back in the 90s, I think. And it has De Niro, Pacino, Val Kilmer, Henry Rollins from Black Flag is in it. Danny Trejo is in it. And there's a wonderful scene in there where Pacino, who plays the leader of the criminal unit that's trying to catch De Niro's gang of thieves, and they kind of are aware of each other, and they know each other in that sense that, oh, he's coming after me, oh, he's the bad guy. And there's a point where they meet in a diner, the two of them just meet, and they're having a very civil conversation over a cup of coffee, and it ends basically with, look, De Niro guy saying, look, if you just walk away from this, if you don't do anything, if you just let us do this one thing, nobody gets hurt. I don't get hurt. My guys don't get hurt. Your guys don't get hurt. We can all walk away from this and call it a day. Pacino goes, I can't do that. I'm going to have to come after you and go after your guys. At which point, De Niro, who we kind of sympathize with this up until this point, goes, okay, well, then I'm going to have to start killing your people. When you show up, I'm going to have to start killing people. And Pacino goes, I understand. I'm going to have to kill your guys too. All right, have a good one. See ya. Take a sip of coffee. Off they go. Who's the good guy in that one? They're both basically saying, no, if you're not going to do what I want, then I'm going to kill you. That's what they're saying to each other. So there's really no good answers here. And also in the final scene where they're doing the bank heist and it goes wrong, literally people are just killing each other. And you realize that no one is winning in this, and there is no winner in this. And that's the point of noir, and that is the point of Black Lagoon. none of these characters, you have sympathy for them to a point, and then you understand that they're not good people. And you have to sit there and reconcile with yourself whether or not you want to root for them, or if you want them to meet justice or whatever it is. And in doing their various crimes, because that's what they're doing, yeah, there are moments where they're just like going, is there any way that we can redeem this situation or redeem ourselves a little bit somehow? And that pops up every now and again. But for the most part, these are people just literally going, okay, we're doing the crime. This is getting in our way. We're going to have to kill these people. Okay, we're going to kill these people. We're going to kill them. And then to get to the end of the day and the payoff. That's literally who they are, the crew of the Black Lagoon. And like I said, there are very grim storylines in this anime. One of them, I know, turns a lot of people off, and what it has to do with two twins, brother and a sister, twins. They're like 12, maybe 13 years old, and from Bulgaria or Hungary, I forget where, but basically they are a product of child sex trafficking. And that is made very clear. They don't obviously show it, but it is something that that comes up. And as a result of this, they become absurdly good killers. So they are called in by various organizations to solve the unsolvable problem, kill all the people, right? And they just come in and do the thing. And one of them has an axe, and the other one has a Browning automatic rifle, and that's kind of their signature weapons, with a little cute keychain thing on the end of the muzzle. I don't know, but how that storyline ends, a lot of people it's very divisive how that ends, and a lot of people don't like it. You're not supposed to, by the way, and that's part of the story, is that you're supposed to feel bad about this, but then a lot of people get turned off, and that's where they usually end the series if they don't stop it before that point. And one of the things, though, that I contend with that particular storyline is like, well, maybe they didn't need to do that storyline, perhaps, but when you get to the end of this storyline, you realize, oh, wait, this is the way it can only end. It can only end in this way. There's no other choice. And so the thing is done, and the crew of the Black Lagoon goes, well, that sucked. On to the next job. So that's Black Lagoon. It's an interesting way of expressing a noir story. It is for adults, really, honestly. It really is only for adults, not the kiddos. But you do get very strong noir storytelling here. And it's a very good, I think, example of telling a story where maybe you don't like the people, but you're intrigued by them. Okay? And they're doing not good things. And I'll leave it on this, which is one of my favorite points of this anime is the closing credits, where you just see Remy's boots. She's dropping things as she's walking along this beach at night. You only see like from her calf down, and she's discarding things, and there's this really sad and ominous music going on, and you get to the end of the credit scenes, and she turns around and she has a shotgun, and she points it at you, and then goes into a and that's the whole point. And like the whole feeling of the anime is that, where it's just like, it's sad, it's methodical, it's grim, it's dark, and action. No one is going down meekly. Let's put it that way. All right. So again, should you watch it? Only if you're interested in these things. Then yes, by all means, watch it. The animation is good. The story, I like the stories. Storytelling is good. I think it's a solid anime, but you have to be an adult to watch this and understand it. And I totally get it when some people get about 4 or 5 episodes in, they're just like, I'm out, and they tap out. I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. It is a violent show. All right, so that was the review for Black Lagoon. Watch it or don't. I think my thing is to say to give it a try. See if if noir is something that is up your alley. There's a lot of good. If you do happen to like this, there's a lot of literature and movies out there that deal with noir in a general sense, not just detective noir. And maybe it's a new genre for you. Hopefully, I don't know. Let me know down below if you were able to watch the whole thing, and if you weren't able to watch the whole thing, and what part, if you couldn't finish it, or if you didn't like it and you didn't want to watch any more of it. Tell me what episode it was and what it was that you didn't like, because I'm interested to see why that is, because it's perfectly justifiable if you don't like it, and you're just like, nope, this is not for me. But I would just like to know the reason why for it. So please do that. Yeah, normally I go like, okay, yeah, give it a try or whatever. I'm just gonna say, see if you like it. Let me know. Okay. So that is also the last anime review for anime from Toonami and Adult Swim. That was the theme for this season. In the month of November, I believe we're going to do a CyTube watch, which again is a free service. You can actually just click on the link. I'll have the link when it comes time. And you just go there and you can either watch it or you can sign up for free. And get an account there and actually partake in the chat that they have there available. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a block of Adult Swim Toonami shows and on an evening, not sure when, and we can watch, and if you guys want to talk about it, we can. So yeah, I'll let you know down below in the next week or so when that is going to be. All right, that is it for this week. And stay healthy, stay good. I want to see you guys out in the wild, and I want you to be healthy because I love you guys, and thank you again for watching. And as always, watch more anime.